With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome to the sunny shores of Miami, Florida, Homestead, Miami, for the opening round of the Classic Indycar Series, powered by Buttkicker. It's been a long off season. The 8th season is now going to be underway here at this 2-mile oval. We're excited to bring you all the action here this Sunday afternoon and evening. My name is Jonathan Burke. Alongside me from last year, Andrew Kinsella. And track cameras provided by Doogie Beard, and of course Connery Maddock down in the production booth, providing us with all the different camera angles this afternoon. And not the first time this series has started on the oval, but the first time in a couple of seasons that we ended up on an oval. This is the first of 12 races. Only 10 of them will count in the standings. We start here in Miami, and then we head just a few miles north up to Sebring, Interlagos then for round 3, Laguna Seca, Iowa, Nashville, Worldwide Center of Racing Raceway on 7, and Belle Isle Auto Club, Indy Road, down under at Phillip Island, and Indianapolis to round out this 12-race season.
It's a classic calendar there, Jonathan, and it should provide some really varied action in this car. Of course, we have the IR05 here in this series, and it is just known for creating action on all types of racetracks. We have some street courses, we have some big ovals, we have short ovals, everything for these drivers to play for here, and it should be a very interesting season in store for us.
Very interesting season and very interesting style of racing this Classic Indycar presents. Here is the race information for today here at Miami. 200 laps is the distance. Fuel window about 54 laps, so we're thinking 3 stops. However, track temperature might have other plans for the tires. Last time we were here in 2019, Matt Cook took the win. Randy Shoemake was in second, and Robert Grosser was in third. And the penalties, Henry Bennett starting from the rear of the grid, as well as our own Stefan Schlacker starting from the rear of the grid this afternoon.
And what a facility this is, Jonathan. It's got the varied banking, and it just produces some great side-by-side action. So should be a very interesting race, but we have a whole host of new faces here for this 2022 Classic IndyCar season, and just a number of well-known names in iRacing as well. Looking at the likes of Cameron Dance, our own Jack Stiles is here, and he's actually put the car on pole in his debut, so very talented class of rookies here.
It's going to be interesting to see how these meld together. Again, the big one is going to be Cameron Dance, Winter Series champion, 6 races for the Winter Series, and he also won the preseason outing at Barber, so proving that he can do it all on the road courses. But can he do it on the ovals? Again, we'll get to the starting grid in a few moments' time, but he's going to be down in 21st for the time being. And this, a lot of rookies, a lot of maybe inexperience with this car is maybe going to show today. Andrew, we talked about the conditions, already a hot track, and one of the other things that you noted was the wind. It is very, very windy here in Florida.
Yeah, it's going to be a very tricky time for all of these rookies. It's definitely not favorable conditions, but at the same time, it's sort of a trial by fire, I think is the best way to characterize it. In a series like this with such high-end talent, it's definitely a sink-or-swim environment. So a lot of these rookies are going to find out today whether they're up to the task.
We have almost a full field. So I'm counting 34 drivers. 29 have qualified. Again, 2 had a mandatory start at the rear of the field. And we'll get you that starting grid in a few moments' time. Warm-up still underway here in Miami. And again, 12 races. Last time we were here, it was at night. So this is another big challenge. Again, the temperature is going to be interesting, but the last 2 times This series has run in Miami. It was 2018 and 2019, both night races. One of them hit the 2-hour limit. The other one came close to it. Both had a lot of cautions.
Yeah, I think that we should get probably a little bit more spread out than we saw in each of the last 2 times that we've been here, just because of that weather that you're talking about. It's going to be slick out there. The tires are really going to have an effect, and it's going to be important to manage those tires as the run goes on. So I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have too many cautions here today, but I think that it should be a fascinating race regardless.
And here is your starting grid. Jack Styles, as we mentioned, put it on pole for the number 59. Andrew Rankin joins him on the outside. Randy Shoemaker, car number 3 in position 3. Andy Bonnet qualified 4th. A reminder, he has to start at the tail end of the field. Franz Josef Strom in 5th, and Art McEwen is in P6.
In 7th, we have Caleb Weekly alongside Jan Dirks. Logan Simmons for Iconic Motorsports in 9th, and Ethan Agan, one of your championship contenders from last year, in 10th position. It's an all-team Chimera row 6 with Andrew Wood in 11th, and Josh Chin, another player in the championship last year, down in 12th position here to start.
Kevin Itola in P13, that rookie Cameron Dance in the number 88 in P14. Robert Garcia down in 15th, Jack Turner in 16th. Jan Hoffman for Vortex Sim Racing down in 17th, and Oscar Fredrickson in P18.
In 19, your series champion is Lucas Laville, way down in 19th, probably not the qualifying he was looking for. 20th position is Lewis Woodall. 21st, Hans Pitkinen and Julian Altena. Andrew Adair Saunders and Marshall Stanley make up the 23rd and 24th positions.
Further down, Jamie Wilson, Team Chimera in 25th. Dennis Garis in 26th. Vortex Sim Racing not having a very good qualifying, and neither did Velocity Online Racing. Sebastian Kinder all the way down in 27th. Matthew Kolar, Archer Brothers Esports, joining the fray in 28th. Vesa Vagola in 29th, and 30th is Caleb Schellner.
And rounding out your grid, we have Josh Barrett all the way down in 31st. Jonathan Diggs, 32nd. And rookie Andrew Barron... Robert Berenko, and then Stefan Schlocker in 34th with no qualifying time. Of course, he starts from the back today.
So 34 drivers taking the grid for 200 laps. You can see that pit entryway down there. Reminder, unlike NASCAR series where you can pull off immediately off of turn 4 into pit lane, we're going to have to use that long stretch of corner from 3 to 4 to get down pit road. So green flag pit stops will be very intriguing, and we can't really do any faking in and out or getting under caution for green flag pit or for yellow flag pit stops. The field trundling around now in 3 and 4. We'll get to set underway here in Miami. And Jack Styles, part of the broadcast team last time, will lead them down. Slowing up, and the green flag is out. We are green in Miami. Let's go racing for the 8th season of the Classic Indycar Series.
Really nice, clean first lap from all of these drivers at the Randy Shoemaker Grand Prix of Miami. Great start at the front of this field here for Jack Styles. He's gotten away nice and clean. Andrew Aiken settling into second, but we've got a little bit of battling further back in the field here.
As you mentioned, Randy Shoemaker, this Grand Prix going to be named after him. This is a little bit of a surprise to him. We're going to have to tell him about it later, unfortunately, as he's under attack from Henry Bennett right behind. I thought I'd said he was moving to the back of the grid, but I guess that would be incorrect. He's still in 4th place. A lot of side-by-side action in this middle part. Joshua Chen, 2nd place in the championship last year. looking for a way around. I noted in practice, at least I noted in practice, a lot of use of that high line in both 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. The bottom not really preferred for the fastest laps. So interesting to see, especially as the run develops, how the lines are going to change.
Yeah, of course, at this facility there is a little bit of progressive banking, so it's just a little bit more banked up at the top there, and it really brings in that top lane, as you mentioned. And I do think that we're going to see a lot of drivers hanging out up there, but this is an IndyCar, and one of the things that you realize the more you race these cars is that that aero push is real, and having clean air is going to be very important. So I think we're going to get some very varied lines throughout the race here as people and these drivers search for that clean air on those wings.
Mike under attack again. This is Logan Simmons in the 92. Mike started third, not the best start for him. Again, open setup series. Someone maybe wondering if he's set up for the long run or just not set up for that high line, because again, here comes Simmons. Look at the difference it makes, the power off the corner.
Yeah, you're just able to roll that top side so well in these cars, and it really allows you to keep up momentum. And this car, despite it being a very powerful car, it is very momentum based on these oval tracks. So it is important to keep that momentum up and not allow your runs to really get disturbed. And that can happen on the bottom side as we watch the 34 of Franz Josef Stum go side by side with Art McEwen here for 6th.
Bit of a stack up here with Art McEwen in the number 40 machine. Germany native not being able to stick to the back really of Shoemaker's 6/10 between them, and there's a lot of jockeying back and forth, especially from the teammates there. Chin and Garcia almost running into the back of each other at one point as well. Just nowhere for anyone really to go right now. And you mentioned that aero push. You can even see it right there. Getting very, very high up there was Weekly. And now he's almost bump drafting down the straightaway, as now Aiken has charged up around Jack Stiles, and Stiles getting a little bit loose out of turn 2. He's going to be under attack from Bennett, and here comes Henry Bennett, 2018 champion, looking to make a statement early on.
Yeah, it definitely looks like Jack Stiles' car is starting to go away from him just a little bit here, Jonathan. It's just really, really nervous coming around those corners. And of course, we do have some in-car tools and in-car adjustments, but if your car and your setup isn't working this early on in the race, that's really not a good sign for Jack Stiles.
Falling all the way now to 4th as Simmons went around, and now Simmons with a big run on Bennett. He's going to look to the inside this time. Nothing doing there for the 92 machine. 15th in the points last season. Looking to hopefully bounce back and make a statement. Henry Bennett, again, took some time off away from this series. The 2018 champion, and is expected to make noise right away on his return. And I think noise made. He's already up to 2nd. And look at this. Just gaggle of cars. Joshua Chin aggressively to the bottom. He's looking to get stumped going into 3 and 4. And I think you really have to make moves here before the tires wear out. Again, as we mentioned, the track temperature, 50 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, those Team Chimera cars, both Chin and just a little bit behind him, his teammate of Andrew Wood, they're looking really, really strong, and it's created a little bit of a hornet's nest as they're trying to move their way up through this field. But look at that gaggle of cars coming down the back straight, almost 3 wide going into turn 3, and we're only on lap 11 here, Jonathan.
Yeah, McEwen is struggling, I think, for a little bit of grip. Dance is now looking on the inside to get around him. It's going to be 3 wide again going into turn 1. As powering around is Dance. That was very, very late on the left right there. Grosser had to back out. Here comes Stefan Schlacker on the outside. And Weekly's also fallen back to 14th. Fredrickson getting in on this conversation as well. Not too far away, defending 2-time champion Lucas Laville, qualified 21st, has already picked up 4 positions as we go back to 2nd place. And Simmons and Bennett again continuing this duel. Unable to clear on the bottom. That top line just has so much momentum. We're not seeing the top line as we do in NASCAR, Dale Earnhardt Jr. style, basically running the wall dry. But we are seeing this top line very, very strong early on.
Yes, of course there are a little bit more consequences if an IndyCar gets into the wall than you get in NASCAR. You can get away with a lot more rub in NASCAR than you do in an IndyCar. That suspension is definitely very, very fragile in these cars, but Yeah, Henry Bennett's, he's looked really strong both in practice and in qualifying, but now in the race as well. And this is exactly the type of start that he really needed to get back into this series. Full time, as you mentioned, he'd been taking some time away from the series last year, but he's back full time this year. Exactly the sort of start that he's looking for. And definitely Simmons and Bennett are really starting to hound the back of Jack Aitken, but we've got some more battling back here right around your series champion, Lucas Lavelle.
I think I said his name and he decided that I didn't want to be 17th, I wanted to be 13th. He's passed 4 cars in the span of just 2 laps. Now making up ground is that number 1 machine. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to react after qualifying so poorly. A lot of these bigger teams just did not qualify too well, and you saw a lot of the independents and the one-car teams do very well in qualifying. And I think we're starting to see the big teams pay off here. They're going to be able to make their way through the field. The smaller teams that may have not had the setup time are starting to struggle.
Yeah, qualifying is important, but it's a long race, and we're definitely seeing the effects of being able to work on a large team. You're just that much easier on ironing out the kinks in your race setup, and it's very, very important to have a good car here. As we're seeing, you can already see just how much that, especially at the front of the field, it's starting to string out. But the battle for first is heating up as Logan Simmons is really starting to pressure the back of Andrew Aitken here.
Simmons' car has come alive after lap 10, and now Aitken is going to be under attack very, very quickly. The bright 92 machine gave able to power around on the outside. Is Aitken going to cut off the battle? No, he's able to get a little bit of a gap, and Simmons is going to have to power down the back straightaway. He has the preferred line heading into 3 and 4. Can Aitken try and cut him off this time? He drifts up a little bit. Not enough room for Simmons to stick a wing in, but now he's going to look low. This is going to be an interesting back and forth. Bennett will get very interested in this if these two have to slow each other up. Simmons has to lift off a little bit, but Aitken struggling a little bit for grip as Simmons gets the power down, unable to complete the move. Andrew Aitken doing a very, very good job.
Yeah, it looks like Simmons has just a little bit stronger of a car right now, but you can see the difference that fresh air makes for Andrew Aitken. He's really able to keep Simmons down and really force him to try and take that inside move, and it's just not quite on right now. As you can just see the effect of that air wash on Logan Simmons there. He just washed straight up the track off of turn 2, but he's got a nice run here, might be thinking about trying that outside move now, as we're seeing Aitken really starting to work that bottom lane just a little bit.
Simmons' car not too affected by the air wash as some of the other competitors have been, but he's definitely feeling a little bit of the pain, and I think Aitken's worried that if that 92 gets clean air, that 92 is going to be gone. And again, around the outside looking, has to duck back to the inside. The interesting thing here is they're actually gaining time on Henry Bennett behind. They've gained about 2/10 in the last handful of laps, so this fight entertaining for us, entertaining for these two, and not really hindering them.
Yeah, so far they've been playing pretty nice. They haven't been going side by side too much. Logan Simmons has been following pretty much in Andrew Aitken's foot tracks right here. Oh, and we have a caution here.
Caution for the first time today, and it is the 42 of Oscar Fredrickson, the rookie for Velocity Online Racing, into the inside pit wall. And Andrew, we saw this a lot in practice. Cars getting squirrely outside of turn 4. And unfortunately, I think that is our first victim of that effect.
I think he had a little help here, Jonathan. I think that Caleb Weekly gets into the back of Oscar Fredrickson. I think Fredrickson gets a little bit loose here on exit and drifts up in front of Caleb Weekly. Yeah, it just gets a little bit loose, and then Weekly straight into the back. Nothing Weekly could do there really to avoid him. It was just a combination of a loose car from Fredrickson and then just gets that help from Weekly.
It was a tag team effort. It was getting loose outside of turn 4, and then Weekly fortunately finishing the job. You can see on board right now with the iconic Motorsports machine. There's plenty of room going into 3 and 4, but watch that 42 just drift up the hill. You could see it going from midway through that corner. That car was very upset.
Yeah, I would say that there was a good chance that regardless of Weekly's intervention, Fredrickson was probably going to lose it on the exit anyways, but certainly that contact didn't help, and Weekly will have to take a wing change here for sure on this pit stop. But as we say, pit stops are on right now. Everyone coming down, taking the opportunity to get some fresh rubber, and I think that we're going to see that as a little bit of a trend here today. Is tires are going to be so important for these drivers.
Obviously, running around an oval at high speeds, that's going to make it very difficult to conserve tires. It looks like Simmons gets out ahead of Aiken, so good pit stop for the 92 machine. And Logan Simmons of Iconic Motorsports will now take the lead. Andrew Aiken behind, and Jack Stiles back up into P3. So again, full fuel run. We're not even halfway through a fuel run, but again, the tires, and clearly by that car getting loose and spinning into turn 4, those tires are screaming for help.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw just how much the field was starting to string out there, even halfway into the run. So we are definitely going to be seeing a lot of tire changes. I'm fairly confident saying every caution is going to be a tire change for these drivers. Not always the case in this series, as on some tracks you do find that they'll last longer, but today with these hot temperatures and the track as it is, it's definitely going to be a pit stop on every caution.
As we're under caution again, we take time to acknowledge the title sponsor of Buttkicker. The help of Jose Andrade from Lionheart, they've been able to secure the Buttkicker sponsorship, and they get gear prices for their drivers, as well as Extreme Scoring, a secondary sponsor this season. Every viewer can buy a ticket and send $5 to PayPal via classicIndycarSeries@gmail.com. At the end of the season, there'll be a blind drawing, and they'll receive a 12-race package at Extreme Scoring free, which is about $60 worth. Extreme sponsor giveaway you can see right there on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Again, $5 to enter for a chance to win 12 free races. Again, classicIndycarSeries@gmail.com to learn more. That's downtime here. We're going to acknowledge the Patreon donors. You can always donate at Classic IndyCar Series Patreon. This week's featured driver is going to be Jonathan Diggs in the 04 machine. We'll get some more time with him later on in the race, hopefully under green flag conditions. Reminder, you can always donate to be a donor driver, gold driver, or a platinum driver. As we work lap 26 under the safety car. Logan Simmons now out in front. We've lost Oscar Fredrickson. He is pulled onto the pit road and it seemed to be done for the day. We also lost Heinz Pickenen, 15 laps down. Don't know what caused that retirement. As the lights are out on the pace car, single file restarts should be in order. And we'll get to see what it's going to be like single file with some fresh rubber on these cars, Andrew.
Yeah, all of these drivers who are starting to feel the pain of those tires, new day, new rubber, and it's time for the restart. So let's see if some of these drivers who have been on the move so far can continue that march forward here.
The Mustang pace car will go off into pit road, and Logan Simmons will lead the Randy Schumach Grand Prix of Miami, backed under green flag conditions. Very late jump from the 92 machine, hoping not to give too much of a draft away to Andrew Aiken.
Nice and strung out here on the start. That's exactly what Logan Simmons wanted. Got a really good jump, as you say, and he's not under too much pressure, although Andrew Aiken now starting to close in with that draft. Lurking back there, we had a really good pit stop round from Josh Chin. He's up to 5th place and really moving forward, but the driver that I think we missed this in the pit stop cycle, but where is Henry Bennett? He's all the way back down in 21st position, so a disastrous pit cycle for Henry Bennett. and he's got a lot of work to do to get back up into that top 3 where he was running before.
It appears to me there was some damage on that 007 machine because it was a 20-second pit stop, longer than Caleb Weekly, who was even involved in the caution. As now Styles back under Shoemaker, and here comes the King of Chins himself. Now underneath that number 3 machine, and 3 and 2 wide we go again. Leaders getting away by about a second. This battle for third heating up. Styles, a rookie, despite putting that car on pole and losing a couple positions after a few laps in, really impressive showing right now from the 59 machine. He's contending with Aiken, Simmons, Chin, and Shoemaker that have been regulars in this series for quite some time.
Yeah, definitely a strong showing from Styles, and we did note earlier on that his car didn't seem to be happy, but one of the things that an open setup league like this offers is you do get the opportunity on these pit stops to make some changes, so it's definitely possible that maybe a wing change, change the wing angle, maybe a tire pressure change will really help Jack Styles sort of settle in here. But the man on the move right now, I think, Jonathan, is Josh Chin. He's moved all the way up to 3rd place now in just a few laps, and he is fast hunting down those 2 leaders.
Championship contender last season, that 93 machine is going to have to be feared. Another man on the move is Stefan Schlacker. He's heading this little train right here that has Cameron Dance getting around, and now the 34 machine. Robert Grossier in the number 6 trying to also make his way through this little hornet's nest right here. And the single file restarts much more orderly than the double file start we see at the beginning of the race, but it can still make these groupings of cars, or at least these long, prolonged battles, last forever.
Yeah, and especially when you get someone like Cameron Dance, who really, he's known as being one of the more aggressive drivers, and not only aggressive on passing, as we saw him go 3 wide earlier on in the race, but also on defending as well. So he can definitely create some dirty air, and he knows how to work the lines and work traffic really well, and sort of work both sides of the track, so to speak. But the man on the move right now, Andrew Wood, gets around Franz Josef Stum, and now his teammate Robert Grosser right to his inside. It looks like Stum is just having a little bit of difficulty here with this dirty air compared to some of the other drivers here.
And sometimes, whether it be this model of IndyCar, the IR05, the IR12, or even current Dallara, when you get past, when you have a moment of just that aero wash, sometimes it can be a domino effect. And right now, I think that's what we're seeing with the 34 machine. Shoemaker also lost a position as well to Styles, who returns to the top 5, and Stefan Schlager has gotten around Styles as well, so that's 28. Also a man on a mission, as here comes defending champion down on the bottom, trying to break his way into the top 10. He has been very impressive so far, from 21st all the way to 12th for the Vortex Sim Racing number 1 machine. That struggling 34 Franz Josef Stam in the way. Ethan Hagen, a championship contender last season as well, proving to be a little bit difficult for the time being.
Yeah, and this is definitely in Lucas Laville's playbook, as he's a very patient driver and a very consistent driver, and that's really what won him the championship. Is Josh Chin may have been the stronger driver, but he had so much bad luck over the course of last season, and Lucas, time in, time out, race in, race out, he was always sort of in that mix for that top 5. It wasn't a dominant season, but it was the type of consistent season that wins you championships, and it's what's brought him so much success here in the Classic IndyCar Series. So definitely a prototypical drive so far from Lucas Laville.
I should mention Joshua Chin. I don't know what is in that number 28 machine, but that car flew around Josh Chin on the last lap, and Stefan Schlacker is on a mission now to chase down the front group. However, it doesn't seem like they're getting anywhere to Aiken and Simmons. Those two are 2 seconds up the road.
Yeah, Stefan Schlacker, easily the biggest mover in the field so far. Obviously, with that end-of-line penalty, starting from very last place all the way up to 3rd place. What an incredible run from Stefan Schlacher, and it's great to see him doing so well. He was another driver who had really a season filled with bad luck last year, and so it's great to see him running so strong early on in this season. We saw Josh Chin making so many moves earlier on, but it seems like now that he's gotten out to the front, maybe his car is more suited to the traffic than it is to running in clean air, because he's just not able to do anything with Schlacher in front of him now.
Might have worn off the tires. You can see Stefan Schlacher also had to start from the rear of the field. He's up 31 positions. That 28 machine is just a rocket ship. Chin has been up 8, Simmons up 8 as well. That 92 machine is very strong today. Styles down 4. You can see some of the other movers in the field. Neville up 7. Bennett, after starting 4th, towards the end of the field. I'm wondering, like, it said he had an end of start penalty. I'm wondering if he got a penalty applied during that pit stop, or maybe he had some damage elsewhere. At the moment that it caused that long pit stop, but he's down in 13th. Now we will see this battle unfolding right ahead of us. This is the number 20 machine, the number 64, 9th and 10th position. Grosser ahead, LaVille behind. Couple regulars right here battling from 7th on back to 11th. A bit more calm, single file racing, I think, taking place at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, as you say that, we have a caution here. And that is Franz Josef Stum. We had remarked on him sort of going backwards through that through the field just a little bit earlier, and it just looks like he lost it coming out of turn 4 there.
Now, we mentioned this 34 machine struggling and falling back. You can see it even wash up right there. That's a 31 machine. Valtena to the inside. It's the 05 machine of John Hoffman. Ooh, a little bit of help, a lot of help actually, from the 31. Heavy, heavy impact into the outside wall.
Yeah, that was definitely not the best scenario there. I think it was just Stum had been struggling so much, and as we ride on board with Julian Altena right here, you can see just it's really, really tight action, and they just a little bit too close there through the corner. I think probably Stum definitely needed to give just that little bit extra room there, especially now that we've gotten into the stint a little bit. The tires were starting to go away, and just an unfortunate deal there, I think, and it definitely has ended what was a promising start to Franz Josef Stum's race.
I mentioned Jan Hoffman probably needs a change of pants as well as a change of tires, because he was about a couple car lengths from making that a much bigger mess than it already was. But pit stops again underway, and it appears we have one brave soul that's going to stay out, maybe try and get a bonus point for leading lap. That's Art McEwen. The 92 machine again fast off the line, and he will remain ahead of that 27. Look at the difference right there. Logan Simmons impressive at pit lane. Andrew Aiken and Stefan Schlacher, Josh Chen, Randy Schumacher, no big changes there. Cameron Dance moves up a position or 2 as well, but we do have a brave soul out there, and that's Art McEwen for Galaxy Racing, has stayed out. Again, wondering if this is a strategy to try and take clean air and the lead, or if this is just the bonus point for leading a lap.
It does appear that he's staying out for at least one more lap, so it could be a bonus point, as you say, but I do kind of like this play from McEwen. There's no real harm in him trying this early on in the race. The worst case scenario, of course, is that he just falls back towards the back where he was, but it will at least give him the chance at getting some clean air. And we've seen it time and time again, that clean air really does make a difference in this car. So it might just be the ticket for McEwen to successfully defend up at the front here. So I think it's a good gamble to take, but it is definitely a little bit of a gamble for McEwen.
Reminder as well, the classic Indycar series presented by Buttkicker. Big sponsorship deal for them, as well as secondary sponsorship Extreme Scoring. Under caution for the second time today. Second incident out of turn 4. And here we go with our Patreon featured driver. We mentioned this earlier, Kinetic Racing's Jonathan Diggs. And donators on Patreon, especially those in the race, can get a chance to be the featured driver. Platinum drivers, there are 4 of them currently in the field. Jonathan Diggs, first week for him. So far towards the rear of the field. A bit of a meh slow day right now for the 04 machine. But he's got 49 starts, 2 top 5s, 7 top 10s in this series, and has been racing it for quite some time in that 04 machine. And hopefully we get to see him up towards the front. And speaking of the front, I am inclined to believe Art McEwen is not pitting now, given the pace car lights are out. So this 40 machine is gonna have a hefty task ahead of him, keeping Logan Simmons and Andrew Aiken behind him.
And I suspect that a number of drivers will be watching Art McEwen here to see exactly how well he'll be able to fare with this clean air, and whether it's going to be enough for the Galaxy car to stay out front, because this could be a strategy that comes into play later on in the race if McEwen is able to be successful and hold off the charge.
So another driver still out on the track, and that's Robert Barnico, but he got a lap back, so he's a couple laps down, maybe a little bit off the pace, but there's 2 guys that I think teams are going to want to take a note of when it comes to tire wear. So Art McEwen staying out after the pit stop, and he actually, I believe, is a pick in between him and the leader. That is the 14 of Robert Barnico, so that's the other car that stayed out on the racetrack. So 2 cars, worn tires, will lead them back to green here in Miami. And McEwen gets on the power of the 14 into the wall, and there goes Logan Simmons down to the inside of the track. We remain green for the moment as Chin gets a good jump. Evasive action everywhere. As drivers ducking in and out, several slowing up and several continuing to go. I think some expected a caution to come out there, but no caution. Logan Simmons, after what was a great performance from the 92, is now back down on pit road.
Somehow we stayed green there, but what an unfortunate incident for Logan Simmons here. The rookie of Robert Barnico, it's one of those things where this car, it has a really brutal power curve to it. And it's so easy to spin up the tires on the restart, and once those tires let go, it just spears straight into the wall for Barnico and nowhere to go for Logan Simmons. And that's put an end to what was a fantastic run for Simmons to start this race. What a shame for Logan Simmons.
He was looking to possibly get his second career win in this series, and just had too much power. Brilliant job keeping it out of the wall and avoiding any more damage. That 92 has already been down on pit road for a minute. And now Stefan Schlacker has gotten around Art McEwen, and the number 20 machine, fellow RaceSpot commentator, is now in the lead of this race. Could this be the day that we interview one of our own for a race win here in this series?
From last to first in 50 laps, what a drive from Stefan Schlacker today. He is on another planet compared to these drives. He's not just taken the lead, he's opened up a full second over Art McEwen. Meanwhile, in that chaos, Cameron Dance has gone from 8th to 3rd, now 2nd on this restart as he works his way around Art McEwen here. So we have seen a massive shakeup at the start, or at the top end of this field. Josh Chin now working his way by McEwen as well, coming up into 3rd place. So everything that we talked about for those first 50 laps, first quarter of this race, you can throw that out the window. We've got some new players in the game here, Jonathan.
Yeah, Aiken now down to 4th place, and McEwen, I think he's just having a problem just getting the drive off of corners, and that's really where he's losing time coming out of these corners. And look at that sideways that number 40 machine gets. He's hanging on for dear life. Styles now goes past. Grosser is right behind, waiting to pounce. This 40 machine hanging on as much as it can, and around the outside was that number 6. That was an aggressive move from Grosser. McEwen, respectful racing, gave him all the space he needed.
Yeah,
unfortunately for McEwen, I don't think the strategy has panned out at all. Though he has a bit of a gap here he can try and settle down into.
That 40 car looks extremely nervous right now. It definitely does not seem like it's in the track, and this is definitely the worst case scenario for McEwen with the all this aero wash that he's getting. But you can see just how hot the track is getting here. We're up to 53 degrees, and that wind is still a factor at 19 kilometers an hour. So definitely tricky conditions for all of these drivers. But that track temp especially, Jonathan, it's just so hot out there right now that these tires, none of these drivers really, I think, have very much grip right now.
That's 127 degrees Fahrenheit for all of you that are not familiar with Celsius, as well as the ambient temp, 82 degrees, 77% humidity. It's a typical Florida day down here in Miami. Glad we're virtual, because if we were in real life in these cars, these guys would be just miserable, I think. Even with the wind trying to cool them down. As we see right here, a battle for 5th, Shoemaker and Styles again once at it. Grosser now down to the inside, looking for 6th position on Styles. Nagan right behind in 8th. Bennett moving back up the field after that long pit stop earlier. You can see that bright orange machine getting around number 31 for 9th position. Grosser will complete the pass. Not this time. Styles hanging tough. Again, I am very impressed right now with Styles. One of the only rookies in the field so high up the field, and he's been very calm, very collected, not making over aggressive moves, but definitely showing that he can contend with a lot of these top drivers.
Absolutely. It's been a really strong showing from Jack Styles. Hasn't been able to quite match the pace that he had in qualifying, of course, with that pole, but he's really shown that he can stay at the sharp end of this field, and he's making really strong defensive moves, but at the same time, he's not putting anyone off. So really strong driving from Styles. Definitely one of the promising rookies. Oh, we have another caution. That's another VCR, or Velocity Online Racing car of Lewis Woodall spinning off of turn 4. That turn 4 definitely seems to be the danger area here, Jonathan.
Another caution and another VOR car into the wall. And side by side with Dennis Garesi going into turn 3, and I'm going to assume there's a little bit of contact. No, the apron. That white line getting that car a little upset, and then when he tries to hit the apex and put the power down, that car just did not cooperate whatsoever.
Yeah, he definitely, I think it, as you say, it all started when he hit that apron. The car just started to get loose, and once it started to slide there, he never really recovered it. And he almost saved it coming off of 4, almost was able to keep it out of the inside wall, but almost is only good in horseshoes. So unfortunately, big incident for that number 13 car of Lewis Woodall.
So we experimented with 20 laps on used tires, and that did not go well. What's your feeling on 10 laps? It looks like Aiken, Shoemaker stay out, Matt Mulhar as well. Not down pit lane yet, and Marshall Stanley. So it looks like we're going to have a bit of a shakeup once again. 20 laps didn't work out. I don't know about 10 on some of these tires.
I think, again, this is the worst case scenario right now for some of these drivers is that maybe they fall back a little bit in the field, but they have a lot of data for later on in the race. Now's the time to try this. So I don't hate the call, but at the same time, it definitely is, again, a bit of a gamble, especially with the track temp as high as it is right now. It's going to be a tall order for these tires to last, but we've seen Andrew Aiken, Randy Shoemaker. They've been fast this whole race. They've been in and around that top 10, top 5 area. So maybe a little bit little bit more indicative than what Art McEwen was doing. He had, of course, fallen back after a very strong qualifying effort. So I don't hate the call, but it is definitely, again, a risk, and one I'm not sure that they needed to take at this point.
I mean, and you're saying that the best time to learn this is now. So if you're Aiken or Shoemake, it is a good time to now learn. And I think Shoemake was also struggling a bit in the early stages. So I'm wondering if this is a strategy call to try and help the car, if it's better on a bit of worn tires and a bit less fuel, which that could be a key as well. And the 27, I think, is just thinking track position. If I get in front of that 28 and 88, I should be okay. And a reminder again, if we do not hit the scheduled 200 laps, it is a 2-hour time limit. So 1 hour and 3 minutes to go. And if we stay green the rest of the way, we might be able to squeeze all these laps in. But again, if we get any more yellow fever here, Andrew, it might finish under time instead of the distance.
Yeah, and that would definitely be a shame. So hopefully we can get some green flag running. I think what we're seeing is that these drivers have been off for a little while here, and they're just not used to running the car quite this loose and with quite this little grip. So as these tires are falling off, they're just not really keeping up with their adjustments, not able to keep the car doing what they want it to do. But as they get more and more experience in this race, I do think that we should start seeing these runs last longer and longer, and hopefully we get some nice green flag running, and we're able to finish up under green as it should be.
Again, third caution of the day. Of the 2 races we've had here previously, it was 6 and 12 for the total counts. When we had 6 cautions, we did finish under time, so we might be able to get this one in just yet. Reminder, you're watching the classic Indycar series powered by Buttkicker, live here on RaceSpotTV. And hello to all of you who are going to be watching a week after the live event on ESTV. We get set to go back racing here. Again, Andrew Aiken and Randy Shoemake stayed out, did not take any tires, and I think they hopefully have taken notes of what happened last time. The 40 machine, Galaxy Racing, Art McEwen not able to hang on in that 14 machine, trying to get the power down, ended up ruining his and Logan Simmons' day. The pace car will take a dive down. First driver on new tires is Stefan Schlacker. He's never had a top 5 on an oval course so far. Then Cameron Dance, the Winter Series champion, in 4th position. Oh. Green flag is out. Aiken did not really get a good jump. Shoemake is right behind. And a little bit of a moment there for Andrew Wood in the 64.
Yeah, Andrew Wood did almost the exact same thing that Robert Bernecco did earlier, except for he went towards the inside wall. But you can see it's not just rookies who find it difficult on these restarts in this car. It's so easy to spin those tires, and really nice save here from Andrew Wood, because he very nearly put it into this inside wall here.
Very curious on how this happened, because he should have fresh tires as well. So this really should not be happening. But at that point in the corner where the banking kind of goes down a bit, I could expect it there, especially since turn 4 has been such a problem already today. So Aiken in the lead. Shoemake is now in 2nd. Those two are going to try and hang on as best they can, as here comes Stefan Schlacker, who took the lead under green flag conditions last run. And he already has a big run out of turn 2. Look at the power of that 28 machine. Ducks now to the inside. Shoemake getting defensive, goes to the 2nd groove. I don't think there's anything he can do against the Austrian native.
Yeah, Stefan Schlacker, he's been so strong all day, and he's just showing once again that I think he's, at least in this early going, in the heat of these conditions right now, he is the car to beat, because he's able to put his car where no one else is and make moves on the low side when almost everyone else you see is really having to have those moves done on the high side. So he's just got that car hooked up just better than everyone else today.
Down to the bottom, hits that apex and looking for a big run out of turn 4 to make a move now for the lead. Andrew Aiken been very, very calm and collected, not getting too defensive here. I think he knows this car is a little bit weaker than that 28. Slides up the hill, not enough grip for the 27 under power, and Schlacker to the inside, side by side down the straightaway. Dance is making a move on Shoemaker right behind. And there goes Schlacker to the lead. And Cameron Dance is now in third, looking to get Jack Aiken, although Aiken might have a chance to come dive back down into turn 1. And the 27 thinks better of it. And here comes the Winter Series champion of Cameron Dance. Again, no official races done yet for this main series, but in the Winter Series of 6 starts, 2 wins, 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s. This 88 is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the main season. Now he's going to have the task of hunting down Jack Aiken, who's hanging pretty well here.
It's so weird to think of Cameron Dance as a rookie, just with how long he's been around the iRacing service, and we've seen him a number of times on RaceSpotTV doing very well. So very, very weird just to think of him as a rookie, but he is a rookie in this series, and he's doing very well for himself up in third place. But we've got some battling going on back here. This is Caleb Weekly, Kevin Natala, and Josh Baird. Baird is another driver who had just a terrible qualifying effort, but he's really just sort of patiently worked his way up through this field, and he's definitely looking strong on the inside of Natala there.
Barrett has finished half his races he's taken apart this series in the top 10, so it's a bit strange to see this 23 have to work his way through the field, but right now currently in 13. You can see on our timing screen a lot of flashing back and forth between Aiken and Kinder. That is just simply connection issues. That is not a side-by-side switching of position. Connection issues on a speedway like this in Indycar might make your opponents a bit wary of you, at least trying to run side-by-side. As we take a look back now at the lead of the race, Blacker pulling out a few tenths now on Aiken. Cameron Dance is closing in on that 27 machine.
A credit to Aiken and Shoemaker here. They are definitely hanging tough on those older tires. Aiken in particular is doing a really nice job of staying up near this front end of the field on those older tires. Cameron Dance trying to make the move. Just, really nice move there from Cameron Dance. Just fading up in front of Aiken and solidifies second position there. But yeah, Aiken just doing a great job with those older tires, just making them work here at the front of the field. So I think we saw with Art McEwen before, he wasn't able to hold on, but maybe 10-lap tires can work here.
That's a good note for all the teams out there, especially as we get later into the race. Another move there. That is Laville on Grosser. That moves that number 1 machine up to 8th. A very calm, patient effort from him. The rookie of Styles trying to get Shoemaker now, who's on those older tires. They're going to go side by side down the straightaway. Again, we can see where the old tires suffer is really on the exit of these corners, because Aiken was not able to get the power down out of 2 to defend himself from Dance going into 3 and 4. And now that 3 machine trying to hang on as best he can, but I think he's doing a good job here of pinning the car with the fresher tires towards the bottom, make him give you a slide job, make him make that move stick. And Styles, textbook slide job move right there. Shoemaker tried to come back on the inside. Styles gets defensive. A great job there from the 59.
Yeah, really, really strong move from Styles, and he's done a great job, as we've been saying all day. This rookie is really showing some great pace, and he's just making the right moves to really stay up near the front of this field here.
And again, he is on those fresher tires. There's Cameron Dance. Next, see Fancy Motorsport, number 88, now trying to chase down Stefan Flacker. Again, a Winter Series champion, and it was already alluded to, and we've mentioned it a lot, that this is a driver who's been around on the iRacing service a long time. A rookie in this series, has a lot of veteran drivers and drivers that have driven this car for quite some time around him, and he's already showed in the Winter Series he can contend with them, and he's showing right now he can contend with them as well. So we get another battle here. Ville is closing and closing rapidly that Vortex sim racing machine, looking to get Shoemake right now. I think this is where the transition point comes for that number 3 and 27 on those older tires. Not able to hang on. Although teammates fighting each other is probably not recommended either.
You definitely have to be on your best behavior when you're fighting with teammates, but most of these teams, they're close enough in terms of what the personalities that really you shouldn't have too many issues with fighting with teammates. Of course, there is the odd incident where a teammate takes out a teammate and then that other teammate will never let them forget it. But definitely these Vortex cars, they've been around each other for a very long time. They know how each other races, and they're always very respectful of each other. So probably no issues there, but definitely probably not the start that Lucas Laville has really wanted for this race, but he's just slowly, quietly making his way up towards the front of this field. And that's sort of a prototypical Lucas Laville race. Is he's never in a big hurry to be very aggressive, but by the end of the race, you always find him in that top 5, top 10 position, and he's just quietly moving forward right now into that same position that we're so used to him seeing him in.
I am surprised at how difficult that number 3 machine is making life for Robert Grosser. Grosser now finally gets side by side with him going down to the 3 and 4. Is the longtime veteran going to be able to make it stick? No, has to back out of it. And here comes his teammate around the outside. So I think maybe has Shoemake held out long enough to benefit from staying out. And Aiken is not falling off the back of Dance by any stretch of the imagination. He has a 7/10 lead over Bennett. And this fight is also causing a bit of a train to develop as well. You can see 2 POC cars as well trying to join the fight.
Yeah, I think that we can safely say that the tires probably aren't as fresh, and there is just a little bit of a pace loss for Shoemake compared to the rest of these drivers. But as you say, the difference is just not high enough for Robert Grosser, Lucas Laville, and Julian Altena to really make that move work. And so I think this is definitely a case where we can say later on in this race, this might be a really strong move, especially if you have a car that's able to back it up like Randy Shoemake or like Andrew Aiken have.
Grosser again looking to the inside, unable to get it done. Laville is stuck behind this, and he's under attack from Dirks and Litina. This is from 7th on back. Now Shoemake struggles on that outside line. Maybe Grosser can clear. That outside line gives the momentum to the 3 machine, and this fight continues. Nothing really they can do is now the 1 machine might overtake Grosser going into turn 1. They're causing a bit of a train here because here comes Varag, here comes Weekly. All the way down to Egan, they're going to get a little bit anxious because they're seeing this fight ahead of them and they want to get track position.
There's the move from Lucas Laville. He put himself on the outside of Randy Shoemake, and that's really what's going to make this move work here. That's not what Shoemake needed. He needed to defend that outside, but Laville put it really high through 1 and 2 there, and was able to move Shoemake off of that outside line, and that's going to allow both himself and Jan Dirks through as well. And then, but still, Robert Grosser just can't find a way by Randy Shoemake here.
Immovable object versus unstoppable force, and it seems like the immovable object is currently winning in this battle. They are still going at it. Dirks, a brilliant job to move from 11th all the way now to 8th, and I think Grosser finally gets around that 3 machine. That was a probably aggravating effort by the longtime veteran. Looking back on our Patreon featured driver of the week, go for Jonathan Diggs. Moving up in the field, he's now 22nd. A bit of a lonely race right now for him. He's 22 seconds now back to Marshall Stanley, who stayed out on the last stop. So the 04 almost going to go a lap down as well. There's Stefan Schlacker in the background. He's going to be under attack to stay on the lead lap. Kinetic Racing Machine.
Definitely not the case, or not the race that Diggs was probably hoping for. But at the same time, he's out there getting more experience in this car, and that's very important. This car is very different to many other cars on this surface, even to the other Indy cars. It races just a little bit differently, and it really is a specialized skill to make these cars go fast. So just him being out here and turning laps is going to be very beneficial to him later on in the season. Meanwhile, Lucas Laville, he's started to turn up the wick just a little bit. Now up to 6th, he's past Jack Styles here.
Jan Dirks is now going to look on the outside, and that 45 machine getting very racy as well, getting around Styles. Styles has been struggling and has been falling into the clutches of this Hornet's Nest for quite some time. I think he has a short run car setup. He's very quick in these first 20 laps. Very hard on those tires, but I think once...
Whoa!
Ooh, that's a save.
Big wiggle from Jack Styles. Nice save there.
That could just be an adventurous line. We're like, we don't know. Like, he may not be struggling. It's fine. He's that 59 machines. Clearly, that's just an advanced line, right?
Judging by how much the back end of that car is moving, I'd say he's in a little bit more trouble than that there, Jonathan. It definitely looks like he's got a handful right now, and certainly when you slide the tires like that, it just heats them up even worse. So the more you slide like that, the worse the handling will get, and it just is a continual feedback cycle. So for Styles here, he's, I think, probably going to benefit if he just calms down just a little bit and allows the tires to sort of cool down and come back to him. But right now, Robert Grosser is not letting him do that as he tries to go around the outside and does successfully complete the pass here.
Grosser is also struggling a little bit. It took him a while to get around Shoemake. Now it took him a bit to get around Styles as well, so that 6 machine may not be the happiest camper. As Dance and Aiken has come back at Cameron Dance. And this strategy of staying out for track position may have worked out in the 27's favor. Again, he wasn't really gaining a lot of time coming down pit road. In fact, he kept losing spots. A little bit of a oversteer, understeer moment there for the 27. He's right in the draft. And this is where you get a lot of aero wash, but Dance is getting a lot from Schlacker just up the road.
Well, and this is what's really telling me that Andrew Aiken's car is working really well today here, Jonathan, is just how close he's able to stay to Cameron Dance this late on in the run. We've seen a number of cases here today where the cars just aren't able to follow, but that's 50 laps into this stint for Andrew Aiken, and he is still right on the back of Cameron Dance. Really strong stuff from Aiken, but he's got to be getting to the end of his fuel stint here very soon.
54 is the max, but that is, again, in clean air, so he could be fuel saving as well. You can see a car pull out there from behind. That might be Shoemaker coming down pit road in just a few moments' time. Slacker continues to lead. He's only a
caution.
Oh, well, that's a perfectly timed caution for Aiken and Shoemaker, and that is a very, very destroyed 55 machine of Jack Turner. What has happened to the 55? Going to replay in a second to find out what happened to draw this caution. 55 has actually been down there for quite some time. My apologies on that one. The very similar looking livery of Caleb Sellner, and just hard into that outside wall out of turn 4. And look at the leaders ducking to try and avoid this. He had been struggling towards the rear of the field, the rookie.
And I think we've seen this a number of times off of 4, and I think that the thing we need to talk about here is I think this is the wind that's really doing this. I think it's that strong wind that we keep talking about. It's just catching these drivers out coming off of turn 4, and basically that back wing, if you catch the wind wrong, it can actually act as a bit of a sail, and rather than generating downforce, it'll actually help blow the car around. And I think that's what we're seeing with a number of these drivers, is they'll get caught up in a gust of wind coming off of that turn 4 and just lose the back end of the car. Meanwhile, pit stops here once again, and Stefan Schlacker once again leads us off of pit road. So status quo at the top of the end of this field, but Henry Bennett did manage to leapfrog Andrew Aitken there on those stops. Aitken, of course, because he did go a little bit longer, he did have to refuel the car just that little bit more, and it's forced him to take just that little bit longer stop here, so he's back down into 5th place now.
Shoemaker as well has fallen outside the top 10 as a consequence of a longer fuel fill. Just 2 laps away from halfway. Again, reminder you're watching the Classic IndyCar Series powered by Buttkicker, the title sponsor this season. And as well as Extreme Scoring. You can check out that link in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. And a $5, there's going to be a contest as well with that. A $5 ticket to PayPal for Classic IndyCar Series at gmail.com for a chance to win 12 free races. Again, you can reach out to that email to learn more details. Again, we also have a Patreon. Here is our donors and platinum drivers. Heinz Heikkinen out of the race right now. Stefan Schlacker's been out front. He's led more laps today than he has in the history of this series for him. Willie Schwarber not here this week, and Jonathan Diggs has been hovering around the 20th and high teens so far, and he's our featured driver of the day, the number 04. I believe, unfortunately, went a lap down right before that caution came out, because that 87 machine, or the 78 machine, excuse me, was the last car in the lead lap. Diggs, unfortunately, is going to have some work to do, I think, to get that kinetic racing machine back on the lead lap. Especially since he's not going to be able to stay out. He's going to have to come down pit road and get some fresh tires, some minor adjustments. We're halfway through this race, Andrew. What have you thought so far? What's kind of the vibe we're getting? We tend to get to a fuel run, and then a fuel or tire run, and then by the end of like lap 30-ish of that stint, we see turn 4 claim a victim.
Yeah, I definitely think that the track conditions are the main storyline here today. I think that these drivers are really battling the track at this point. The track temperature has come down just a little bit. We're back down to 51 Celsius. That is 123 Fahrenheit from a high of 127 or 128 there for a while. So we are slowly getting down on the track temp, but it's still very, very hot. And then that wind, 25 kilometers an hour, 15 mile an hour wind. And I think it's just catching out a number of these drivers, and it's just preventing us from getting really through a full fuel run on any of these runs so far. But we're starting to get a little bit later in the afternoon, and with the dynamic weather that we have in this series, it's definitely possible that we start seeing this start to get a little bit more racy and a little bit more green flag action here.
Speaking of racing and green flag, we're going back to green flag racing, as Stefan Schlacker will again lead them out of turn 4 halfway through the series opener of the Classic IndyCar Series powered by Buttkicker, and Schlacker immediately on the power trying to get away as fast as he can from Cameron Dance into turn 1.
Nice restart from Stefan Schlacker, and I think one thing we need to talk about, that orange 007 up to 3rd place here. He's really finally recovered from that disastrous first pit cycle that he had. Was once all the way down in 21st position, now back up to 3rd in front of Josh Chin, and I think he's going to be looking to attack the leaders of this race. But Andrew Aitken, of course, was so strong that last run, he's looking to get right back into it as well, trying to make a move here on Josh Chin.
3 pit stops and 4 actually lost positions. Lost 2 positions on this stop for Andrew Aitken.
Whoa, Josh gets very close to the wall through 4 there.
That's just the Dale Earnhardt Jr. line. I think he's just experimenting right now is Joshua Chin, trying to find a way really to compete with Aitken. I think he knows track position is going to be key. You can see Bennett and Dance side by side ahead. That is for 2nd place, the 2018 champion on the Winter Series champion. So the bottom goes Bennett. They are almost even, and Dance a little bit weaker on that high line for the moment. It has the momentum as they go into turn 1. And Stefan is looking in his review mirror. First off, probably thinking, I wish I could commentate the action behind me. But second off, thinking, keep fighting, boys. I'd like to lead for a little bit without having to fight anyone.
Yeah, this fighting has definitely allowed Schlocker to get that nice little buffer that he's going. He's got about 7/10 of a second, but Henry Bennett's really starting to come on strong here. That was a power move around the inside of Cameron Dance, who we've seen so far today has been very strong, but Bennett is just looking that little bit stronger, and he's already starting to reel back in that 28 car of Stefan Schlocker in the lead. But Andrew Aitken, another driver looking extremely strong, he's also attacking the back of Cameron Dance now.
Dance feeling the pressure early on in this run. Goes up the hill again, gets a little bit squirrely, does that rear end, and now Aiken might have a chance to go down into turn 1. Not this time, however. Bennett now setting sail to go after Schlocker. Has closed up 2/10 already on the past lap. 007 looking mighty fast. And back here with LaVille and company, basically, it's a hornet's nest. Dirks has been on the rear end of this one machine for probably the last 50 laps, and I think for the 45's benefit, at least Jan Dirks keeps getting positions by following the number 1 machine. But can he finally get around him? Grosser, who had been struggling towards the end of that run, now some fresh road to put some pressure back on Dirks.
There are definitely worse drivers to follow than the defending series champion. If you want a lesson on how to drive an Indycar, definitely Lucas LaVille is one of the drivers that you want to follow. So Jan Dirks doing exactly what he needs to do right now. But this battle 6th through 10th, really, they've really fallen off the back of the top 5. There's about a 1.5 second separation between this battle between Dirks and LaVille and Josh Chin. So this battling that we're seeing here, it's definitely not doing them any favors. I do think watching this battle develop, the Vortex cars, they seem to not have the strongest short run pace here, but they definitely seem to come on stronger as the run goes on. So it'll be interesting here to see whether we get a nice long run that really allows LaVille and Grosser to stretch the legs of this Vortex car.
I think that also showed in the qualifying performance of the Vortex racing machines. Not a single one of them in the top 10. Right now we were talking about a bunch of them swarming around at the tail end of the top 10. It goes Vortex VOC, Vortex VOC. Interesting little team racing dynamic here. Creeping up right now from 6th on back, and Bennett has closed up on Schlocker, almost got around him on that previous lap. You can see Styles, Altina, and Berard now getting very, very feisty now for 8th position. You can see it down the tail end of that. Weekly, who's involved in the second caution of the race, recovering nicely into 12th. No real chances, I think, for Dirks to make a move. I think just following this number 1 machine might do him some good right now. Save some fuel, save your tires, just wait until he makes a mistake. Which is rare, but wait until he makes a mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a long time to go. One of the things about oval racing is as long as you're in the draft and you're close by, you definitely have the ability to make a move later on. So it definitely doesn't hurt to really save your stuff, as you were saying. And I think that it's a good choice from Jan Dirks. But meanwhile, we've got a battle at the front. Cameron Dance's tires have started to come back in, and it's now really a 4-car battle here for the race lead. Josh Chin starting to fall back, but Schlocker, Bennett, Dance, and Aitken really all seem to be really strong in this race. And look at Bennett roll the center of that corner. He wants this lead here, Jonathan.
Clean air, I think, is making the difference right now, keeping that 28 out in front. The 007 is very, very strong on the bottom of 1 and 2 in particular. Lap 113 of the Randy Shoemake Grand Prix of Miami. Speaking of Randy Shoemake, he's down in 13th. He started 3rd. Unfortunately for him, down in 13th after a longer pit stop on the last cycle. Stefan Schlocker has led the way for quite some time. Henry Bennett had a slow first pit stop and had to work his way back to the front. Cameron Dance is in 3rd. Andrew Aitken in 4th. This is a 4-car battle for the lead. Joshua Chin a little bit further back in P5. We've had 3 cautions for the day, and I think here comes a chance for the lead. Bennett edges out that front wing ahead of Schlocker, and they're side by side down the back straightaway. Can 2018 champion take the lead away from the 28. No, Schlager puts the door on that 007, and he has to back out of it before getting a little bit loose after hitting that apron.
That was some really dicey stuff from Henry Bennett there. He nearly got 2 wheels on that apron there and nearly hooked the car, but Schlager really likes how his car is working in this clean air, so I think he doesn't want to give Henry Bennett the chance to take away that clean air from him, so he's doing everything that he can to keep the 007 back. And meanwhile, Cameron Dance, Andrew Aiken, they're in the popcorn position here, just watching these two go at each other, and I think Aiken in particular, he's just really content to stay behind these drivers and save his stuff here. But Bennett, with one more run here at Stefan Schlager, I think Bennett also realizes that he needs to get this move done sooner rather than later in order to keep the tires under him, because the more that he runs these tight lines and this hard line, oh, Andrew Aiken nearly loses it coming out of turn 4 there.
And Cameron Dance was also struggling out of turn 4 and had to get out of the throttle. And here comes Bennett again, looking to the inside, trying to find a way around that 28. Nothing doing on that occasion. The good news for Aiken is Joshua Chin is quite a considerable ways behind him. Bad news is he's lost the draft of Cameron Dance. And very aggressive into the corner for the Aero X machine. Yeah, you could see the 88 get a bit loose there, and then the 27, unfortunately, got a bit loose in response.
Yeah, one of the things that can happen is when you lift off the throttle, it actually starts to rotate the car a little bit more even. So when he had to lift for Cameron Dance, he was probably already right on the edge of losing the rear of the car, and that just sort of pushed him over the edge. Really nice save, though. Quick hands kept him out of the inside wall and keeps him well within sight of this battle here. But I definitely think that he'll take a few laps here to get his heart rate down. Meanwhile, though, Henry Bennett, he's keeping up that pressure on Stefan Schlager, and I know that Stefan's definitely going to be feeling that heat coming from the 007 car right behind him.
Cameron Dance has now put himself back into the equation. I think what Dance has been doing is running that extra high line, trying to get some clean air on the nose of that 88, particularly through 1 and 2, and you're going to see it right now. The 007 goes all the way to the bottom. Stefan runs that middle line, and there's that 88 running that high line. I love this little multi-group strategy battle here.
And it's so important to get that clean air in a battle like this. So every time you see Stefan changing up his line just a little bit and feeding that dirty air to Henry Bennett, that's definitely part of the game here. Part of one of the tools that he can use in his toolbox. No one's, of course, making any sudden moves. These definitely aren't blocking moves, but you definitely have your mirrors in mind here when you're making these moves. As here, Stefan Schlager, and to a certain extent Henry Bennett as well, with how strong Cameron Dance is right behind him. So you definitely see a little bit of gamesmanship going on with the lines that they pick. Meanwhile, Josh Chin continues to fall back. We did see him brush the wall a little bit earlier. I'm wondering if he might have just a little bit of damage on that car that's just not letting him keep that pace that we saw earlier on in this race, as Lucas Laville made his way around the number 93 Team Chimera car, and Jan Dirks is looking to get around him as well.
The King of Chins right now is struggling in that 93 machine, and Jan Dirks, who had been following a number 1 machine for quite some time, would like to continue following that 1 machine and get around Chin. Laville is basically all by himself now, has a second, almost a second between him and Chin, and almost 3 seconds between him and Aiken. That's going to be an effort. And speaking of Aiken, there he goes back to the inside, looking on Cameron Dance for P3. And nothing doing on that one. That 27 car, quite strong, especially as this run keeps going on. It just seems that Aiken has a good long-run machine. And Dance is struggling to find any clean air that those two in front of him are letting go by them.
A really strong showing here from Andrew Aiken. It's nice to see him back at the sharp end of the grid. He had a little bit of struggle, and to be honest, the whole Aero X organization really struggled just a little bit last season. So to see them up here nice and early on in the season is really strong indication that Aero X is going to be back this year, fighting for race wins, and just a really strong drive from Andrew Aitken as well. But Cameron Dance, what can we say about this rookie? He's hanging with some of the best in the Classic IndyCar Series and doing just a fantastic job here, keeping Andrew Aitken at bay.
They were both driving on the absolute limit right there. Dance almost into the outside wall of turn 4 that has already caught out a number of cars today. And Aitken's really putting on the pressure now. Here they come out of turn 2. Probably fit just a piece of paper between the number 88 machine and the outside wall. Now we go into 3 and 4. Dance has lost the rear of Bennett a little bit. The 27 drifts up the road. A little squirrely from the rear end by Aitken. He has to back out of it, loses some ground there. See on our timing screen as well, Josh Chin and Dirks are having a heated scrap now for P6. This battle for P3 continues. Bennett unable to get around. A heated scrap for P6, a hornet's nest for P6 is more like it. There's LaVille all the way up the road by himself. Dirks, Atlanta, Weekly, Agan, Rozier all within just a tenth of each other. We might go 3 wide coming out of this corner. Weekly looks to the inside. Agan has to back out of it and fall to the rear end of this group. And Josh Chin, whatever damage he has, whatever issue that number 93 is struggling with, has created this huge bottleneck. And there's just nowhere for any of these guys to go.
Yeah, this is definitely the worst case scenario for Josh Chin, is having this long run. There's no chance for him to potentially come in. Oh, is Alten and Chin get together? More contact. And somehow we don't have any cars in the fence here. I don't know how we survived that. It looks like they've somehow gotten away with it. We'll have to see if either of them have a little bit of damage from that, but I don't know how we didn't have a massive incident there, Jonathan.
At 31, might be struggling for straight line speed as here comes Grosser, the veteran, right in between both of them. Gets a little bit loose. Atlanta has to back out of it. And Styles trying to get in on the conversation as well in this prolonged battle right now.
And like, you don't blame Josh for doing this, because he is still in the fight. He is still in 6th place, but just with that wounded car, he's just not able to go as fast as some of these other drivers, and it's really bottling this up and creating this hornet's nest. You see the Robert Grosser with a nice move to the inside of Josh Chin there. Lucas LaVille hoping to follow his teammate through as well. But it's definitely created a recipe for disaster here, with Josh Chin just not able to keep up the speed that some of these other drivers want to run at. I'm still shaking my head at how we have not had a bigger incident than we already have here. As Chin nearly puts it in the wall again through 4 there as well. So he's definitely doing everything he possibly can to go as fast as he can, but I think that there is just a little bit too much damage in that car right now.
There's a lap car, by the way, of the 25 machine of Stanley that followed through. Make note of that as the 20 now getting around Chin of Agan, and now here comes Styles looking to the inside of Joshua Chin. Here comes Atlanta. He's already run into one EOC car. I'm hoping he doesn't run into another. Chin almost in the outside wall. He's trying to hang with Styles. But I don't know if it's just a setup issue or what that is struggling that 93 machine. And back to the lead. Bennett had a look on Stefan Schlacker, but nothing doing on that occasion. And I think Schlacker's tires have worn out, and the 007 would like to welcome himself back to this series by taking the lead of this race. Schlacker, again, has led more laps today than he has in his entire time so far in the series. He's at 18 total starts, 3 top 5s, 10 top 10s, no top 5s on an oval. His highest position was 6th in the 2017 season. Now Bennett has to back out of it a little bit. Now Dance is now getting interested in looking into 2nd place.
It's been a charmed run for Stefan Schlacker, but there's definitely 3 hungry drivers right behind him who are more than happy to try and take the celebration away from Schlager here, and we still have 64 laps to go in this race, so this is by no means done. And I think this is probably the longest green flag run we've had so far today here, Jonathan, and definitely one of the things that we haven't talked about, which we are very much, which we I think will start talking about, is we're starting to get into a little bit of traffic with these leaders as well.
Patreon featured driver of the day, the 04 of Jonathan Diggs, just trying to hold on for dear life right now. As he pulls off to the inside, respectfully gets out of the way of the 4 leaders. He's not too far away, I believe, from the back of the 96 and the 40. For the last 2 cars on the lead lap. But here comes Bennett again looking into the inside. He just can't complete the slide job on the bottom, but they're side by side down the back straightaway again. Schlacker doing everything he can to hold on. And getting closer and closer, closer and closer. A little bit of a wiggle from the 28. Almost a bit of contact by the 007. And we stay single file and all green. Almost a heart in your mouth moment for both those 2 drivers, and now Dance is getting very, very interested, and so is Aiken. Dance a little bit loose off of turn 2. Aiken looking to the inside. Nothing doing on that occasion. We stay single file into 3. And now Bennett has to gather himself back up again. Hope that 28 makes another little mistake. Gets a little loose again. Try and make another jab at it for the lead. But you're right. We're talking about traffic. And then maybe 10, 20 laps time, we're talking about pit stops again. As here comes Bennett back to the inside. He has the wing out in front, but that outside line is just so strong.
This is the farthest alongside that Bennett has been, but he just can't complete the pass. He just isn't able to carry that momentum down the back straight. And Stefan Schlacker, he's just able to roll that high side like we've seen so many times. One of these days, I think, Jonathan, Henry's got to think, this bottom lane just isn't working for me. Maybe I try rolling the high side. Maybe I find a way to make that high side work for me. But it's just lap after lap, Bennett seems to be trying to make that inside work, and lap after lap, it's not working. Meanwhile, back in the pack just a little bit, Josh Chin's fall continues. He is back now behind Julian Altena, and Ethan Egan, who we haven't really talked about all day. He's just quietly worked himself all the way up into 7th position, so really strong from last year's title contender. Oh, we've got another caution here.
I believe it's Dirks, the 45 machine that was right behind Josh Chin, the Apex Tech Racing machine, and that is a very, very broken number 45 machine at that. I think I see what the problem is on Josh Chin. There's that front wing. The front wing is banged up on the left side of the car, so that appears to be what the problem is. But is this going to spawn the problem? No, it's completely separate from Chin. Right below him, who was that? I believe, was that Caleb Weekly?
I think that was Caleb Weekly, you're right. And yeah, the 3 wide situation there, it was never going to pan out well. I think Dirks, he was just so frustrated being behind Chin for so long there.
Oh, no, it's the 17 machine of Kevin Nyolta. Guts into the side of them. And ooh, that was I'm glad we got the onboard of Weekly, though, because that was an impressive dodge there from Caleb Weekly. No, it was the 17 of Kevin Nyolta, the rookie. Unfortunately, getting involved. You can see Chin on the outside. Sim RC machine trying to hang in tough, and just, I don't know, just a little bit of a racing incident I feel from both of them. But maybe a misjudgment of space there by the 45, thinking he had the bottom covered and 17 was not going to stick it in the exit of 4.
Yeah, it was just one of those sticky situations that can happen, especially with Chin riding that outside line like he was. Really, there was nothing that either of them really did particularly wrong there. Just racing incident, as you say. But unfortunately, it has ended a very strong run for Jan Dirks.
Stefan Schlacker, 3-wide race off a pit road, and Schlacker's able to get the lead. Cameron Dance thought he had a moment and thought he also might have lost his front wing as Bennett came out very, very fast. That was a 3-wide race. I want a replay of that. That was amazing. Here we go. Here's the 88 coming off the jacks. There's Schlacker to the outside.
Great job from those drivers to not get into a big incident there, because these cars are not meant to exit pit road 3 wide there, and very close stuff, but very skillful driving from all 3 of them there.
Stefan Schlacker retains the lead after that 3-wide race off a pit road. If that's the race off of pit road, I want to know what the race of the line's going to look like in about 50 laps time. The 007 in second still, Dance in third. Aiken finally doesn't lose a splat this time. He stays in fourth position. Defending series champion is now in Indycar Series, sponsored by Buttkicker. We are under our fifth caution of the day, 56 laps to go. And if we do run out of time, again, this is a timed race of 2 hours, with 38 minutes remaining. It's going to be a close one. We might get it in full time, but another caution or two and might prevent that from happening. Could alter strategy here as well, Andrew, because we mentioned a fuel run is 54 laps.
Yeah,
we did it with 58.
I was just about to say, this makes everything really, really dicey here. This was not the timing that I think most of these drivers wanted to see this caution. And one of the things that we might see here is Stefan Schlacker has been wanting to lead here a lot. Will he want to continue leading? Because you're not going to be able to save enough fuel if you're in the lead of this race. You're going to need some draft help to make it to the end here. So whoever is in the lead is going to be at a distinct disadvantage in terms of trying to make it. But at the same time, we haven't seen a full fuel run all day. So do you treat this strategy as if it's going to be definitely going green at the end, or do you just resign yourself to the fact that we're probably going to have another caution here that's going to change the strategy up again? So it's definitely, this is one of those dicey situations that could result in a number of different calls from different drivers here.
That Butler Powell Motorsports machine has been quite strong today for the 28, and I think I get what you're saying with like the draft and making sure you save enough fuel, but it almost seems like that clean air is just so good for that leading car. I wouldn't even want to give it up, even if I'm going to be having to lift and coast my way to the end. I wouldn't want to give that up for the sake of saving fuel, especially if, again, like you've mentioned, we've had a caution before the end of a fuel.
There's an old adage, finish first you must finish. And I think that's the attitude that Stefan Schlacker needs to have. He needs to find a way to get to the end on one tank, just in case it does go green here.
The pace car will be down, back on pit road. Stefan Schlacker led almost 100 laps of this race and will lead him back to the green here for the Randy Schumach Grand Prix of Miami. 54 laps to go, and a good restart that time by the 28 machine. Henry Bennett looking in his rearview mirrors, making sure Cameron Dance is still behind him. All single file now.
Not for long, though, as Cameron Dance ducks to the inside of Henry Bennett here. He's looking to make hay while these tires are fresh, and he successfully gets around the 007 of Henry Bennett. So that 88 car definitely looking strong on this restart. And once again, we're seeing definitely a 4-car breakaway now with Schlacker, Dance, and Bennett and Aiken, and a good almost full second now back to Lucas LaVille in 5th place.
Did he just catch Bennett napping or what? But that 88 machine was a rocket coming out of turns 3 and 4. And now here comes Aiken looking for 3rd position out of turn 4, unable to get it. A little sideways by both of those two. And Dance is now in 2nd place, the Winter Series champion, now going to chase down the 28. And again, interesting to note, like we had a single file restart, and I could have swore I saw the one machine tucked up behind the 27. How did LaVille already lose a second to these 4?
I think it's down to the Vortex cars just not having that short run pace. Whether it's not getting the tires fired up quite properly, maybe the pressures aren't quite right for that short run, but just something about the Vortex setup just doesn't allow them to really fire up the car the way some of these other teams and other drivers are doing. And it's catching them flat-footed every single restart, and it's something that I don't know that LaVille, with all his skill, will be able to overcome here and to really make this more than just a 4-car fight here.
Yep. Bennett back around Dance, looking again on that inside line. Look at that roll through the corner. He has A bit of a wing side by side with Schlacker. Can he get it a good run in green 4? There's going to need to be a slide job here. Schlacker to the bottom of the racetrack, cutting off any possibility of that. Aiken and Dance side by side. They're both getting sideways out of turn 4. And Dance hangs on for third place for the time being. I mean, the good thing for LaVille, if he wants to catch up, these four are going to race each other very angrily the next couple of laps. And Bennett back to the inside out of turn 2. He has a bit more of a run this time. No, chooses to back out and go into turn 3 behind the 28 machine.
This type of fighting is exactly what Lucas LaVille needs. He needs to minimize the loss of time here at the beginning of this stint, because we've seen that his car really does come to him as the stint and the run goes on. But Henry Bennett definitely wants the lead of this race, and he's trying to use these fresh tires on Stefan Schlacker. But Schlacker, again with that outside line, that momentum on the high side, just does not allow Henry Bennett to get clear through the corners, and he just can't seem to make that inside line work no matter how hard he tries.
Talked about a return to the series for the 2018 champion, and a mighty return it has been. But the 28 has to get out of the throttle a little bit. The 07 drifts up the track as they come out of turn 2. Can Bennett take the lead from Stefan Schlacker? It has been Stefan Schlacker since lap 50. He's led over 100 laps, and the 28 retains the lead. A brilliant defense by the Austrian, and now we go back down into turn 1. This 007 is getting more and more desperate, getting further and further in the corner. Tries to look again on the inside. Does he have enough room to make it stick? Not going to happen this time. Dance and Aiken are too busy fighting each other to really get involved in case Bennett makes a little bit of a slip up, but here comes Dance looking to the inside, unable to make a move.
The margins are so thin between these four drivers. They're all just so equally balanced here. And this is the type of fighting and the type of driving that you live for as a driver of an IndyCar like this. I guarantee you that both Stefan Schlacker and Henry Bennett, as intense as they are, they got to be loving the battling that's going on right here. It's just fantastic action, and it really, again, this is what we live for as drivers on a sim like this, is that wheel-to-wheel action that we're seeing here, and it's just spectacular to watch. Great driving from all four of these drivers.
Bennett again back down on the bottom. Schlacker again running that middle line. Dance has yet to try and move up to that high side yet, like we saw in the last stint, to get a big run, but now he's using the draft to get a big run, and diving down to the inside goes Cameron Dance. And 007 runs that middle line as a defensive line to keep that 88 behind. Again, the 4-car breakaway out front. Bill in 5th position. Styles, the highest of the rookies, put it on pole, is in P6. Aiken, we haven't talked much about him, in P7. Grosser in P8. Weekly in P9. And Joshua Chin in P10. He did take a little bit of a longer pit stop to get that front ring fixed. A 93 machine. He'll be back up to pace. Now, a bit of a calm in the storm that has been the front 4 battle. Schlacker gets a bit of a gap now, and the 007 now goes back to the bottom, trying to find a bit of momentum.
I think it's definitely the case where these drivers realized they had to settle down just a little bit. We're not quite in that window of desperation that we will see towards the end of this race. So I think right now, especially you look at Dance, you look at Aiken and Bennett, they'll be saving their tires just a little bit here and saving their cars for the end of this race. They're probably also realizing just how close they are on fuel. So it might be the case, especially if you're Andrew Aiken, where you have the draft of all 3 cars in front of you now, that you can really use that draft multiplier effect to really save a lot of fuel here. So I think actually Andrew Aiken might just be in the best position out of all of these drivers here in the top 4 going into these final 40 laps.
We saw Henry Bennett try and run that upper higher line and realized that was a poor idea. So it's back down to the bottom of the racetrack to try and make that work. And here's back for 6. Rookie Jack Styles again, put it on pole. Ethan Hagen, 3rd place last year in the championship, battling it out here. The defending series champion right ahead of him.
And it's been a quietly good run for Ethan Hagen. He's not necessarily known for his oval prowess. He's definitely more of a threat on the road courses, but really showing some great maturity here today. Just was quietly sort of in that top 15 area at the beginning of the race, and is just, as drivers have sort of fallen around him, he's just worked his way quietly up towards that 7th place, and it's putting Jack Styles under a lot of pressure here for that 6th position.
Joshua Chen also picking up a position on weekly last lap around, and Egan hoping to stick it on the bottom and do a slide job, unable to get it done. You can see the battle on the edge of the top 10 in the background.
Yeah, it does look like Chin's car is fixed, but he's lost so much track position, and I just don't think that there's anything that 93 car can do. It looks like he's going to be sort of resigned to battling here in and around the edge of the top 10 for the rest of this race. So unfortunate for a car that was so strong early on to have his race derailed a little bit by damage, but definitely, if this were a year ago, we probably would have seen even more misfortune befall Josh Chin. So oh, we've got a caution here. And a massive impact.
Flipping number 31, excuse me. A massive impact in the middle of turns 3 and 4. And for all those that were a bit light on fuel, this might be the best thing coming. So Lena is outside. Randy Shoemaker.
Just a little. I think Randy Shoemaker just drifted up just a little bit on Julian Altena there, caught the rear of the car, and then I think that was Andrew Wood got a piece of it, as well as another driver I didn't quite see there, but a couple of drivers with nowhere to go. Yeah, you can just see here Altena and Shoemaker side by side down the back straightaway. I think Altena expected Shoemaker to enter in just a little bit lower than he did. Altena did come down on Shoemaker a little bit. It's one of those racing incidents that can happen here at Homestead Miami Speedway with so many different lines through the corner. And it does look like Wood might have just gotten away without any damage, but we're definitely in for a ride here as we see the flipping car of Altena come very close to Andrew Wood here.
This is down back 17th, 18th position. See the contact right there. I don't think he touched him.
I think netcode may have been Andrew Wood's best friend there.
I think the virtual realm has saved.
Yeah, the iRacing gods have shined on him. We have some pit stops here though. Henry Bennett down on pit lane.
So this is an interesting one. Cameron Dance, Lucas Laville, Jack Styles, and Robert Grosser have stayed out. And the 27 is able to win a race off pit road. Oh, no. Oh, dang it. The double 007 got it. I was hoping that maybe the 27 of Aiken will gain a place on pit road, and fortunately he just stays put where he came in. But Schlacker able to stay P5, Henry Bennett behind him. We have 4 drivers who have stayed out. Cameron Dance, Lucas Laville, Jack Styles, and Robert Grosser. And that's a confident group of drivers that have stayed out. However, as producers politely put up the stint graphic here, that's 20 laps on tires. We saw what happened last time.
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting call for me, especially when you see some of your competitors making that call. Now the track is still pretty hot as well, so I don't know if I like this call from Cameron Dance and Lucas Laville. I think that they could have been just as strong if they had come in here, but those are 4 really strong drivers who did stay out. They've been in the top 10 all race long. It's going to be a tall order to have those tires with 20 plus laps on them and all the fresh rubber behind them. This is going to get very interesting very quickly, I think.
Let's do a little bit of a reset here. This is our 6th caution of the day. We have lost a number of drivers. It is now totally up to 10 drivers. As our Patreon driver of the day, Jonathan Diggs, still running around in the 22nd position. He's about to be 21st. He's passing Julian Atlanta. Reminder, you can donate to the Classic Indycar Series Patreon. Drivers will be able to be donor, gold, or platinum drivers. Again, our platinum driver, Stefan Schlacker, has been leading the way towards the front of the field, but our driver of the week is Jonathan Diggs. Again, just a handful of laps down. Reminder, our secondary sponsor is the Extreme Scoring 2.0, new timing and scoring partner to replace former timing and scoring partner, and you can get a $5 ticket and send it PayPal to classicindycarseries@gmail.com for a blind drawing at the end of the season. You can receive a 12-race package from Extreme Scoring, which is worth a total of $60. Again, it's email classicindycarseries@gmail.com for more information. You are watching the Randy Shoemake Grand Prix of Miami, and unfortunately for Randy Shoemake, he was involved in that last caution, a little bit of contact with the 31. And just put us underneath the yellow flag again. It's going to be close to see if we hit the 2-hour mark or the 200-lap mark. And the lights are out on top of the pace car. The top 4 have stayed out. It is Cameron Dance, Lucas Laville, Jack Stiles, and Robert Grosser. And that is a very well-skilled group of drivers that have stayed out. The first one on fresh tires is Stefan Schlacker. He's led over 100 laps. This is his best oval performance in this series by far so far. The 28 machine. Returning champion Henry Bennett in the 007 is in 6th. Andrew Aiken has been a threat all day in 7th. Ethan Hagan in P8. Joshua Chin had front wing damage, fell back, is in P9. And Josh Berard quietly putting together a good race in P10. As the lights are out on top of the pace car, hopefully for the final time, you get to see the pace car out on track. As the 88 Cameron Dance, the Winter Series champion, rookie this season, will lead him back to the green flag.
Really nice start for Cameron Dance. He's got a nice gap to this battle here between Jack Stiles and Lucas Laville. This is exactly what Dance wanted to see. If he can find a way to break that draft, it's going to be very, very important, especially as Stefan Schlacker has already overhauled Robert Grosser here on this first lap. Those fresh tires already being put to great effect for Schlacker.
Stefan is a man on a mission. He's already in the draft of the #1 machine, and 3 wide down the back straightaway. The 28 is here, and he's taking no victim. All the victims, actually. Stiles is passed, Laville is passed, and in 2 laps, Stefan Schlacker has put 3 cars between him and Bennett, and is now chasing down Cameron Dance for the lead of this race. 30 laps to go. We go into turn 1. Here comes Stefan Schlacker. There is nothing Cameron Dance can do. The 28 machine is back out in front in just a few laps.
I was expecting the fresh tires to work well for Schlacker. I don't think I was expecting it to be that quick. We have seen that definitely coming down and pitting there. That was the absolute 100% right call for Stefan Schlacker. He has just destroyed those cars on those older tires as we get very close through turn 1 there. That was between Ethan Hagan and Robert Grosser, with Josh Chin hanging out on the high side there. Really close racing there. Grosser definitely feeling the effects of having those 20-plus lap tires on his car right now, I think.
They're going to be struggling a little bit for grip, but I do understand the call. We have 10 cars out of the race, now 12, excuse me. So only 19 running around and making laps, only 17 on the lead lap. The worst you can finish, if all 4 of them drop to the rear, is 13th on back. At least if they stay on the lead lap, that is. So it's a good call. There's 4 very experienced and very skilled drivers out front that made the call, but Stefan Schlacker, who's already, as a reminder, had to start at the rear of the field, by the way, has already passed everyone once. Made it pretty easy to pass everyone again, as there goes Henry Bennett, the 2018 champion, now to the inside of Cameron Dance. And Dance seems very, very helpless up there. Here he comes. The King of Chins himself is going to make himself known in the final few laps here.
Bennett needs now for Dance to stop fighting with him, because Stefan Schlacker hasn't just passed all these drivers, he's driven away from them. 1.4 seconds now in front of Henry Bennett. So it's going to be everything that Bennett can do to try and get to the back of Stefan Schlacker right now, but it's going to be a tall task, I think. And yeah, I hear what you're saying about the call from the likes of Dance, but when you're in 3rd position, he really only gained 2 positions temporarily on that restart, and now he's on those older tires, and it's allowing drivers the likes of Josh Chin to have a shot at himself when really I don't think that Chin was ever the match for Cameron Dance throughout the course of this race. Now suddenly with that fresh rubber, Josh Chin has a chance at standing on the podium, and Cameron Dance might just be seeing it slip through his fingers here.
Problems for the rookie of the number 59 of Jack Stiles is rapidly dropping through the order as Shin is able to clear the 88, and now he's in third position. And there is the number 59 machine now on its way to pit road. It's like not a lot of damage that I could see at the moment. Well, I can see by the steering, never mind, that is a lot of damage. And Dance is now dropping positions rapidly, and that might just be from tire wears. Unfortunate time for the rookie. He started on pole. He was in the commentator's booth last season, and 59 machine down on pit road. As we head back up towards this front action, Egan now in fourth place. That's the defending champion LaVille on the outside in fifth. Dance is, you know what, I think I'm starting to agree with you here, Andrew. I don't think this call is working out in the slightest for those guys.
Yeah, and I think that this was one of those calls, especially for Dance as a rookie. It's just one that he just doesn't have the experience in these situations to make the call that he needed to right there. To be honest, it was just a gamble that he didn't need to take because he had the track position, and with the fresh tires, you never know what can happen towards the end of a race. He very easily could have found himself in the winner's circle with how strong he was. And now he just doesn't have a response to any of these drivers who are just swarming him at this point, all the way down to sixth position already. And meanwhile, we've got drivers who we haven't talked about barely all day now knocking at the door of the top 10. Andrew Wood is now in 9th place, Randy Shoemake up to 10th, as Robert Grosser, another of those drivers who stayed out, continues to fall down the order.
Like, I mean, you say the rookie of Dance didn't make that, like, needed more experience to make that decision. The 6th of Grosser has more races under his belt than anyone else in this field, and also made that decision. So I think it was a worthwhile risk, but unfortunately, given the amount of quality cars there are in this field that can make moves, track position was just not going to win out today. So here's Egan and Shin fighting at it. These two have had, well, Shin has had a bit more of an eventful race, but Egan's had a pretty quiet day, and he could end up on the podium when all things are said and done. He's on the inside. He's going to be able to put the slide job on Josh, and yes, he is.
Really nice move there from Ethan Egan. He's really coming on strong here towards the end of this race. This is exactly the type of start that he needed. He came so close to the championship last year, and this is, again, he's so much stronger on the road courses than on the oval, so to be running this well this late in the first race on an oval, really strong stuff from Ethan Egan. As we see Josh Baird now battling with Lucas LaVille. The one final thing I want to mention on the strategy call from particularly the Vortex drivers of Grosser and LaVille, and the reason why I like their call slightly better than Cameron Dance's, is we have seen throughout the course of this race that the Vortex cars are strong on that long run and are bad on the short run. So if any drivers were to stay out, it made sense to me that the Vortex drivers did stay out because they seem to be working those tires just better on that long run in general, and they probably wanted to try and avoid losing a lot of time with the newer tires. But again, it didn't quite work out, I think, the way they wanted it, but we're seeing some fantastic action because of it. Andrew Aiken trying to recover here and going toe-to-toe with Josh Baird, and Luke LaVille covering off that bottom. Really nice there. He's working both sides of the line here, trying to hang on to a top 6 position.
Aiken has been up front all day long, has led a handful of laps as well, and here he goes to the inside of LaVille, and I don't think there's much the one machine can do besides just defend on the high side. He's got Joshua Berard trying to look a little bit of contact right there. Aiken a little squirrely, goes down to the bottom of the track. They're side by side again into 3 and 4. And here's going to be an interesting thing. The clouds have moved in a little bit here. The track's going to cool down a bit more rapidly. That may bring some relief. Some of these guys on the older tires is now Aiken back into the top 5. Berard and LaVille side by side. Dance right behind. They come out at turn 2. John Hoffman, we haven't mentioned him since the start of the day, is now in the top 10. A really good race from him, and Shoemake after struggling in that middle portion of the race, he's looking to pick up a few positions as well. Top 10 in a Grand Prix named after you. That seems like a good way to start your season.
Absolutely, and Shoemaker has been one of the pillars of the CIS Classic IndyCar Series community, so it's definitely a fitting tribute to all he's done for the series throughout the years, and to be in a top 10. And to be clear, he doesn't even know that this race has been named after him, so he'll find out when he gets out of the car here today. But to get a top 10, I think that'll just make it that extra bit more special.
There's Stefan Schlacker leading the way. Right now he's led over 100 laps. It's more than he's ever led so far in this series. He has 4 top 5 finishes, none on an oval race. Could this be the day that the 28 machine gets a win? There is the 2018 champion of Henry Bennett. It was mentioned when we first were preparing for this week that he was returning and he was going to be a threat. Well, I think LaVille and Shin and Egan need to take note. The 007 is a threat, and he is going to be competitive all season long. And now with just 10 to go, can he close up and finally get around the 28 machine?
Such a strong return for Henry Bennett. Of course, my teammate on the Power Slide Motorsports stable, so I will admit some bias here, but this is exactly the type of situation that Henry has found himself in so many times, hunting down the leader as the laps tick away, and he more often than not comes away on the winning end of these types of situations. He was 1.2 seconds back from Stefan Schlacker not 5 laps ago, and now he is right onto the back of that 28 car, just 2/10 separating your top 2 here. I think we're in for a grandstand finish here.
You're mentioning a little bias, I'll mention a little bias. Here's Stefan Schlacker often with me for the Irish Series competition for commentary. Racing in this series, and I'm cheering a little bit. I think everyone at RaceSpot as well is cheering a little bit for that number 28 machine, as here comes Bennett roaring through turn 1 and 2. He has a pretty strong run as we head down the back straightaway again, but Bennett thinks better of it. Doesn't decide to go down into 3 and 4, as Egan is having a little bit of a technical glitch right there. He's still holding on to 3rd, down the back straightaway, less than a 10th, front straightaway, excuse me, going into turn 1. Bennett on the bottom, he's letting it roll through the corner. Schlacker knows how to defend this, just keep it right there. The 28 a little bit loose as they come out of turn 2. The 007 doesn't have a way to make a move at the moment. Now he tries the high line this time, maybe following the 28. We get a bit of a draft. Schlacker again a bit sideways out of the corner. Bennett know where he can go. That's the 04. Jonathan Diggs just ahead. Lap traffic may come into play.
We've seen this dance before. Schlacker high, Bennett low. Bennett really able to roll that bottom, I think even a little bit better than he has earlier on in the race, but he still just can't seem to make it work. Schlacker just carrying so much momentum on that outside, but I honestly think Bennett needs to try to find a way to make that outside line work for him, but we just haven't seen. Oh no, a little bit of contact between the two. There was definitely some air in between those 2 cars, but somehow both cars able to straighten out, and we keep going, but we do see a little bit of damage on that front wing of Henry Bennett as well.
A little bit sideways was Stefan Schlacker on the outside of turn 1. We've been seeing it all throughout this battle. That 28's been on edge. This is the first time Bennett was in that corner. Yeah, 28 turned down a little loose. A little bit of contact. We head back to the racing action, and Schlacker lost a little bit of time, but Bennett is still your race leader. That is the 04 of Diggs. That is, again, multiple laps down. Not going to be too much of a factor. Schlacker just a couple tenths away from Bennett. We mentioned Bennett with a little bit of damage now, possibly on that front wing or even the side pod of that car. And the 2018 champion, hold on.
All comes down to this for Schlacker. Definitely would have been thrown through a loop with that contact, and he's got to settle his heart rate down and refocus on getting back to Henry Bennett in that lead, because there's definitely the possibility that Henry's speed is going to be affected here, but definitely one of those unfortunate incidents that can happen in internet racing where you're racing on two separate continents. So hopefully we can get back and Schlacher can find a way to get, with just now 1.5 laps to go, find a way to get back to the engine, to the back of Henry Bennett, but he is fast running out of time here, Jonathan.
Fast running out of time and running out of track as well. At 28 is driving on edge. Bennett about half a second ahead. So the white flag is out for this final lap. The 2018 champion is returning, and he is going to make a statement. He has put Stefan Schlacher through all sorts of pressure, and unfortunately that pressure boiled over a little bit into turn 1, resulting in contact that resulted in the change for the lead. And here comes Henry Bennett, the 2018 champion for Powerslide Motorsports, will win the Randy Shoemake Grand Prix of Miami. Stefan Schlacher led 100+ laps, is second. Ethan Hagen, third place in the championship last year, will stand third on the podium. And that was an impressive finish by both those two drivers. It is a shame it ended in a little bit of contact going into turn 1, but they were driving on the edge the rest of that whole run.
The thrill of victory for Henry Bennett in his return, but just heartbreak for Stefan Schlacher. He drove so well for so long, and we mentioned this a number of times. He just didn't, or he has never quite put together a drive like this, and it just will be heartbreaking for him to lose it in that fashion. But what a tremendous drive from your top two today. And then, of course, Ethan Hagen, we mentioned this a number of times, just quietly moving his way through the field, and then lo and behold, a podium on an oval for Ethan Hagen. Just a great start to the beginning of this year.
And it was great racing all throughout the field as well. And you saw probably on our timing screen as we were watching that lead battle, just all the different positions that were shuffling back and forth. So Henry Bennett for Powerslide Motorsports, his return is a return to victory lane. Stefan Schlacher, just a bit of heartbreak, led over 100 laps. He has his highest career oval finish in this series at second. Ethan Hagen stands on the podium. Joshua Chin, remember when he was struggling with rear front wing damage? He finishes fourth. Andrew Aiken for Aero X, able to finish in fifth. Joshua Bard in sixth. Jan Hoffman, didn't mention him a lot during this race for Vortex Sim Racing. He's the highest ranked of those drivers in P7. The Randy Shoemake Grand Prix, for which Randy Shoemake is the obviously named driver of it, for Aero X, finishes P8. Cameron Dance after that little bit of a strategy error, we'll call it, in P9, and Lucas Laville right behind him in P10.
Andrew Wood just outside the top 10 for Team Chimera, with Andrew Adair Saunders 12th. Sebastian Kinder, quiet race to 13th. Robert Grosser falling with that tire call all the way down to 14th. 15th for Vesa Ilha Olela. Art McEwen, who we saw early on with that try to take that alternate strategy, didn't work out for him. Last car on the lead lap in 16th place. Kevin Natola for Sim RC Motorsports, first car 1 lap down. Jack Stiles, so strong throughout most of this race, finishes 2 laps down in 18th. Marshall Stanley, the 25 car, comes home 3 laps down in 19th. And then Jonathan Diggs, your featured driver today, 6 laps down in 20th position.
And now we get to the list of drivers of what could have been. Caleb Wheatley was involved in a caution, the second caution of the day, had damage and then picked up damage in another wreck. He finishes P21. Julian Altena, wild ride for that 31 machine in 22nd, and the 45 of Jan Dirks in 23rd. Caleb Sinner lost it at a turn 4 in 24th. Matthew Molnar was having a bit of connection issues towards the start of the race, chose to call it a day, finishes P25. Jack Turner, heavy contact for him in P26. Dennis Carice was involved in a crash. 27, Jamie Wilson, another driver involved in a crash. 28, Lucas Woodall on 29, and Logan Simmons, of a day of what could have been for him. He was in the top 5. And to round out our field, Robert Barkno lost it on a restart in P31. Jan Hofstrom was our first caution of the day in 32nd. 33rd, Oscar Fredrickson, the first rookie to be lost of the day, and Hans Pinkinen called it quits after just 10 laps. Rounds out your field of 34. that rounds out your field for the day. This is the Classic IndyCar Series sponsored by Buttkicker, and we'll proceed with our post-race interviews. Just waiting for a few of our other drivers to populate the area. We have our second and third place. We're waiting on first. Let's bring in our race spot commentator as well as the second place finisher of this race, Stefan Schlacker. And Stefan, I was rooting for you a little bit at the end, but that contact going into turn one, unfortunately, is what cost you.
Yeah, I have no words. I mean, Henry Bennett has such a great car in the turns, and I knew that. So, lap on lap, I was trying to push him down low. I was really trying to not let him have enough room up there so he can actually breathe. And I was running the same line as I always was doing, and he just wasn't having it or whatever. I don't know. It is what it is, but I wouldn't want to win the race like that. But at least I didn't completely lose the car and still got it home in second place, which is great for all of our sponsors, VCO, Peter Bunk Performance. They are probably most delighted about that one.
Oh, so let's talk about just the performance of the day, Stefan. Like, you led over 100 laps. This is your best finish on an oval so far this season. What does this start mean to you for the rest of this season?
Well, it most definitely does set a tone, doesn't it? I mean, I also started this season off with the guys from Fitzy Motorsport or Fitzdy. I never know how to pronounce them. I'm so sorry. Jack Stiles and Cameron Dance. I'm running together with those guys, and we have formed a really great partnership. And I can't wait what the future holds, because this machine was planted. And I mean, I went in 20 laps from 34th to top 10, and then in 50 laps to first place. That is quite an accomplishment, and I think it shows what kind of speed we three guys can accomplish together.
Yeah, your car, like, especially after that last restart, what did you think going into that last restart when you saw the four guys ahead of you on old tires? What did you think was going to be the plan there?
Well, we're quite honest, Jonathan. I said to myself, all right, you're going to blow past them, just like you always been, because they are on 22 lap old tires, so you are just that much faster on raw pace. And with the fourth gear in first and second turn, it really hooked the car around. It really drove well down there for the first couple of laps until I had to move all the way to the top side, because that was just where the grip evolved to in those very high track temperatures. And after that, I was looking not to the gaps behind to Cameron Danson's and the guys like that, but I was really looking back to that gap to Henry Bennett, because I knew he has the faster car in the turns. I have the faster car down the straight lines. So I really need to open up the gap. And it worked really well until that cursed cloud came over, and I was struggling so hard. I went up to -20 on the weight checker. I was trying everything, but I was just dropping stones everywhere for Henry to just pick up. And yeah, he was there with 12 to go, and the rest is the story of that.
All right, but Stefan, before we let you go, buddy, is there anyone else you would like to thank?
Well, yeah, obviously all the sponsors here at Butler Pal VCO, Peter Bunk Performance, Simskin, and whatnot. All that I'm forgetting. OMP, obviously. Yeah, and obviously also big thanks to Randy Shoemake, who shared this setup, and also to the guys over at Fitzy.
Congratulations on the second place, and we'll see you in a couple weeks' time for round two.
Well, thank you.
And with second place, Stefan Schlacker. And now let's move on to our race winner, 2018 champion Henry Bennett. And Henry, do you have a copy?
I have a copy.
So, first off, congratulations on the win, but talk about that chase down in the final few laps where you have just over a second to get back on Stefan.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting battle with those guys at the front for the last half of the race, because you probably saw there was a huge difference in downforce trim. But I think my setup was faster overall. It's just a matter of getting past the guys that they were just moving away from me on the straight, and I couldn't do anything about it. But yeah, I wasn't sure whether I could reel Stefan back in, because I wasn't sure how much his car would fall off. I knew my car wouldn't fall off much at all with the downforce I had. And I did trim a I trimmed the last 2 stops just to gain some of that straight line speed back. And I think that helped me get alongside for the final pass. But yeah, I wasn't too sure whether I'd reel him in. The pass itself is just unfortunate that when Stefan turned in, there was a bit of netcode. I don't think either of us did anything too wrong. He's going to be upset, but if he if he doesn't want to play, take his chance with netcode, he should leave a bit more space.
And talk to me about early on in the race. You were starting towards the front, and then you had that long pit stop in the center. How did you were able to get back up through the field?
Yeah, when Logan blasted past me, I mean, he probably could have won the race by half a lap. He was that fast. Um, I know I was just racking my brain as to why I was so slow on the straights. So my throttle wasn't going to 100%; it was only going to 95%. So in the pit stop, I had to play around with reach down and twist my hole sensor to try and get it manually calibrated back to going 100%, and I managed to do that. So yeah, I think that would have cost me a tenth a lap or something.
And obviously, final question: you're returning to the series after winning in 2018, taking some time off. What are you hoping the rest of the season brings after starting off this race with a win?
I mean, the win was unexpected. I had no idea what my car would be like entering the race. Only entered the attached practice to the um, race session with about half an hour to go, and only practice qualifying in that. Yeah, I only picked up the sets today. Um, so yeah, I think the rest of the season just depends on how much I can work on the car. I really don't know how my old sets will perform on road or oval with the variety that this series has. So yeah, just looking for solid results each round, and hopefully making most of the rounds I can get a decent position in the standings.
Well, thank you for your time, Henry. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see you in a couple weeks' time for round two.
Thanks, guys.
That was our race winner, Henry Bennett, who with 12 laps to go was able to get around. Let's talk to third place, Ethan Egan, who, while we were watching the lead battle, had quite a fight with Josh Chin for P3. Ethan, can you hear us?
Yes.
So, Ethan, you had a very quiet day, kind of mulled back in the field, like in that mid pack battle from 7th back to 12th most of the day until the end. Talk to me about how chaotic it was at some points.
I mean, it was very chaotic. I mean, during the race, like the two straight cautions, I missed my pit stop both times, so I had to back up and stuff. So like, basically, I went to 7th all the way back to 20th, twice. Well, not yeah. So felt like I passed the most cars today, and Homestead is very hard to pass. So, but managed to have some good cautions and did not miss my pit stop again, and managed to come home third. Great start to the season.
And talk to us about those final stint where you saw those four guys staying out on old tires. How were you able to take advantage of that and not only pick those guys off, but get a few positions on some of the rivals that have been around you, like Josh?
Yeah, I mean, when I saw them stay out, I was like, okay, I have a chance here. And I knew that they were going to be slow into the corners and managed to pick them up one by one. Unfortunately, Henry and Stefan were already ahead of me when I passed all those other guys. So, but yeah, like, and had a good battle with Josh there um, and battle for third, and I just had a good run.
And final question. Obviously, you finished third last year in the championship. You start this season finishing third in this race. What are your hopes as we look at the rest of the season?
Uh, Hoping to not screw up and win this championship this time. But I think the main goal is to be consistent, like getting more podiums than four, which I got last year, and um and not get any penalties. And I don't know, it's going to be a very exciting and tough season, and a long way to go.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. We hope to see you next time out for round 2.
Thank you.
So before we go, we do have one set of interviews left, and it is going to be with Randy Shoemake and Robert Gross. So, Randy, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir. How are you today?
I am good. How are you? So, we have a bit of a surprise for you. I'm not sure if you were listening in at the broadcast at all.
Not yet. I'm anticipating watching it this evening, but
So, the race title is actually the Randy Shoemake Grand Prix of Miami. AeroX member Andrew Aiken sponsored the race to give you a huge thanks for all your dedication and hard work. Message is you are the true gentleman driver. iRacing is his passion. He will race you hard and fair. More than anything, he is a team player willing to help anytime. This recognition is to show thanks for all he does for AeroX. So,
thank you so much. That's so kind.
we also brought Robert in to give a little bit of extra thanks as well.
Yeah, Randy, when Andy approached me whether this is something possible in this league, I immediately said yes, of course. And because yeah, I couldn't think of anyone more deserving. I know what all you are doing actually, not just for your team, but in general. So yeah, very kind words by Andy there indeed, and I can only second like every single word he said, and that is not even enough to do you justice, Randy. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Robert. You've done so much for us, and you and Lucas and Josh have put together such a great league, and we're so proud to be members of it. We're trying to carry forth a long tradition, but it's getting harder. Everyone is catching up and doing such a fantastic job, but the league is still so professionally run. And I've got to thank everybody on AeroX for their kindness, the help, and the information they show me. And Andy's truly a great friend. Stumi, Jack, Mike, Carl. I can't thank them enough. But thank you for the honor.
Oh, congratulations on the race obviously being named after you, and congratulations on a top 10 finish for you today, Randy. And we hope to see you guys out next time in a couple weeks' time.
We'll be there.
Thanks a lot.
So that wraps up our post-race festivities. Andrew, any final thoughts before we head out for the day?
Yeah, just what a nice tribute to a pillar of the CIS Classic IndyCar Series community. Randy does just so much for, as they said, not just his team, but for everyone in the league, and just a pillar of the community, and a really great tribute. So great job for everyone involved with putting that one together. But now I think it's time to talk about what's next on the schedule for this series, and I believe that we are going to Sebring next.
And just a few miles north of us at Sebring. It's going to be an interesting one. The first road course on the schedule. The bumps of that front straightaway and those long twisted turns are going to be a subject of a lot of passing and a lot of close racing action. And if the oval races are any indication, the road races should just be as fun, entertaining, and really fun to watch.
Absolutely. It's going to be a treat going to Sebring. Of course, replicating the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida in the real world. It's just this classic American track. Bumpy, as you said. It's going to be a fascinating duel. Last year, we saw so many duels with Josh and Ethan, and then the likes of Julian Altena coming up as well. So definitely something to look forward to in 2 weeks' time. That's April 24th will be the race day.
Well, that is in 3 weeks' time, but for this race for today, that'll wrap us up here from Homestead, Miami. Congratulations again to Henry Bennett for the win, Stefan Schlacker and Ethan Egan for the podium. That is all for the Randy Shoemake Grand Prix of Miami. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time for round 2 at Sebring. My name is Jonathan Burke. Thank you for joining us this afternoon and evening. Andrew Kinsella has been beside me the entire way. Connor Matic has been doing all the sort of technical production things down below. Again, 3 weeks' time, we'll see you at round 2 of the Classic IndyCar Series, sponsored by Buttkicker at Sebring.